I knew something was wrong the second I twisted that safe dial and felt how loose it turned, like a jar somebody'd already opened. Wasn't more than 20 seconds later, I was standing there in my old boots, staring at a half-empty stack of cash, the savings I'd been sweating over for the last 6 years, just gone. And then he said it, leaning in the doorway like he owned the place, tuxedo jacket off, drink still in hand, that smug grin across his face. "We deserved it," said my brand-new brother-in-law, Nate, like he was talking about taking the last slice of wedding cake instead of stealing half my life savings. I didn't say a word, just looked at him, hammering hard enough to rattle my ribs, while he clapped me on the shoulder like we were old pals. "Family now, man," he chuckled, turning away toward the backyard where the reception was still winding down, string lights swaying in the warm Tennessee night. I stood there another good minute, hand on the open safe door, mind already shifting gears from shock to something colder, something slower, something inevitable. Because here's the thing about me. I'm not the guy who yells. I'm not the guy who swings first. I'm the guy who watches, plans, and when the time's right, the guy who makes sure you never see the hammer falling till it's already cracked you clean across the teeth. Now, let's back up just a hair, not too much, mind you, and I'll tell you how we got here. Name's Jason Cole, 29 years old, born and raised in Pine Bluff, Tennessee. Population, enough to have a Walmart, not enough to need a second one. I work construction, mostly framing, drywall, the odd concrete pour when the season's right. Nothing fancy, but it keeps the lights on and the bills paid. Plus, I'm pretty good at savant money, which, around here, is its own kind of superpower. My sister, Emily, she's 3 years younger. Always been a little reckless, a little too trusting. Grew up thinking the world was full of good people if you just smiled big enough at him. Enter Nate. Nate was slick. Had the kind of handshake that squeezed too hard and smiled with too many teeth. Wore a trucker hat backwards and talked like a man who'd watched too many reruns of Pawn Stars and thought he was God's gift to business. They dated a year. Married last Saturday. And by Saturday night, he'd already proven who he really was. I didn't say anything at the reception. Didn't bust up the dance floor or grab a mic and call him out in front of God and everyone. No, sir. I smiled. I drank their cheap champagne. I ate 2 slices of that dry, overpriced wedding cake. And the whole time, in the back of my mind, I was already stacking dominoes, just waiting to tip the first one. Because you don't steal from Jason Cole. You don't laugh about it. You get what's coming. And brother, when it comes, it don't come quiet. Sunday morning, I woke up early. Not because I couldn't sleep. No, sir. I slept just fine. But because revenge tastes best when it's served before breakfast. I brewed a strong pot of black coffee, sat out on the back porch, and started sketching out the blueprint in my head. First thing I knew, revenge needed patience. Nate was greedy, sure, but he was also stupid. And stupid men don't just steal once. They steal again, and they get sloppy. All I had to do was give him enough rope to hang himself. First move was easy. Play dumb. At the Sunday brunch, back at Mama's house, I shook Nate's hand. I even laughed at his dumb jokes. Pretended like I hadn't noticed a damn thing about the missing cash. Emily sat between us at the kitchen table, her left hand flashing that brand new ring around like she was auditioning for a jewelry commercial. Nate? He leaned back in his chair, looking real comfortable. Real safe. Good. I wanted him to feel that way. While Mama served up eggs and sausage, I was watching Nate. Watching him size up the living room TV. Watching him ask offhand questions about Dad's old truck still sitting in the garage. The boy was practically drooling over everything that wasn't nailed down. Second move. Get close. Now, I ain't the most sociable guy, but I can fake it when the situation calls for it. So I told Nate we ought to start spending more time together. You know, bonding like brothers. He lapped it up like a dog at a barbecue. Yeah, man, he said, grinning. Family's everything, huh? He didn't know I already had 3 things on him. A Hafferton police report about the theft, pictures of my emptied safe, and something even better, patience. I let him think we were thick as thieves, emphasis on the thieves' part. Started inviting him along for odd jobs. Helping friends move furniture, patch up roofs, haul scrap metal. He thought it was all for free beer and pocket cash. I was talking notes. Because the real trick wasn't just to catch Nate. It was to make Nate catch himself, in a way so clear even my sweet, blind as a bat sister couldn't deny it. Third move. The bait. I spent 2 weeks dropping little seeds, talking about how I had some cash tied up in a new business deal. how I might be needing to move a whole lot of money in and out of my accounts real quiet-like. Made sure he overheard conversations that sounded juicier than a summer peach. And buddy, you should have seen his eyes light up. A man like Nate can't help himself when he smells easy money. It's like watching a raccoon spot an open trash can. That was when I knew it was time for the real play. It was a Wednesday evening, sun just about set in, the air thick with the smell of fresh-cut grass and charcoal smoke. We were sitting out back at my place, throwing horseshoes and drinking Coors Light. I turned to Nate real casual and said, "Man, I gotta figure out a way to stash some extra cash somewhere. Banks get nosy after a certain amount." He laughed, popped the top off another beer, and said the line I'd been waiting for. "Man, if I were you, I'd just hide it somewhere no one'd ever look. Hell, even in your truck toolbox or something. He thought he was giving me advice. In reality, he was drawing himself a road map straight to the trap. I just grinned, tipped my beer, and said, "That ain't a bad idea." Meanwhile, in my mind, I was already set in the bear trap, because come Friday night, I was gonna lay out the cheese. And Nate? He was gonna take the bait so hard he'd knock out his own teeth. Friday rolled around with the kind of thick, sticky heat that makes a man sweat just walking to the mailbox. Perfect weather for mischief, if you ask me. That morning, I stopped by the hardware store and picked up a cheap little lockbox. Nothing fancy, just enough to look like it was holding something real important. I also grabbed a stack of fake bills off Amazon the week before, the kind they use in movie props. Looked close enough that if you weren't counting careful, you'd swear it was the real deal. 20 minutes and a little creative cussing later, I had that lockbox stuffed with about what looked like 10 grand. Tucked a couple real hundreds right on top to seal the illusion. I locked it, duct taped the back, and stashed it right in the truck toolbox, just like Nate suggested. All nice and cozy, sitting there waiting, like a deer stand in peak season. That night, I made sure Nate knew exactly where it was. We were sitting around a bonfire at my place, couple buddies, couple beers, nothing that would draw too much attention. I tossed my truck keys onto the patio table real casual-like, right next to Nate's beer. He noticed. Oh, he noticed. "You trust folks around here that much? Leaving your keys out?" He joked. I shrugged. Ain't worried. Only thing worth stealing is a little beer money I got stashed in the toolbox. I said it like it was nothing, like I was half drunk and running my mouth. But believe me, Nate was listening. You could practically see the gears grinding in that squirrel brain of his. Around midnight, folks started clearing out, Logan, and stumbling to their trucks. I acted drunker than I was, yawning real big, scratching my head. "I'm hitting the hay, boys. Keys are staying here. No one's dumb enough to steal from me round these parts," I said loud enough for Nate to hear clear as a bell. Then I stumbled inside, left the porch light on low, and sat down behind the window where I had a perfect view of the driveway. Didn't have to wait long. About 15 minutes later, the screen door creaked real soft. Nate, tiptoeing like a kid sneaking out for Halloween candy. He eased across the yard, looking around like a possum caught in a floodlight. I watched him fumble through my truck keys on the patio table, then slip across the gravel to the toolbox. He opened it, real slow, real careful. Then I saw it, that quick, greedy glance around. The glint of the lockbox coming out of the truck. The grin on his face as he tucked it under his arm like a prize turkey. And then, just like that, he disappeared into the night. Now, you might be thinking, "Jack, why didn't you stop him right then?" Because the trap wasn't just about catching him stealing. No, sir. It was about proving it. So solid no one, not even my sweet sister Emily, could deny it. That's why, 2 days earlier, I'd installed a fresh little piece of insurance. A trail camera. Hidden under the eave of the house, aimed dead on at the truck. Night vision. Motion activated. Full HD. And just like I planned, it caught everything. Clear as day. Nate, the lockbox, the getaway, every single second. I sat there at the window a while longer, sipping my coffee, watching the screen of my phone as the footage uploaded itself automatically to the cloud. By morning, I wouldn't just have a suspicion. I'd have a damn documentary. And Nate? That boy had no clue the real show was just about to start. Saturday morning was so peaceful, it almost felt wrong. Sunlight spilling through the blinds, birds chatting outside, that sweet smell of cut grass drifting in. I poured myself a coffee, sat down at the kitchen table, and opened my phone. Pulled up the footage. There he was, Nate, in all his crooked glory, sneaking across my yard like a raccoon who just spotted a free cooler. Clear as Sunday service. I saved the video twice, once to my cloud, once to a USB drive I tucked into a little fireproof box under my bed. You know, just in case Nate decided to go full stupid. Now came the fun part, poking the bear. First move, I texted Nate mid-morning. Hey, man, you see my truck keys? Thought I left him out on the patio. Took him a good 20 minutes to reply, must have been sweating bullets over that one. Nah, bro, didn't see him. You leave him inside, maybe? Sure. Nate. Sure. I played dumb. Maybe. Weird. Gotta check the truck later. I waited a few more hours, let him stew a little. Let him wonder if maybe I noticed something. Then, right after lunch, I dropped the hammer halfway. Also, toolbox got busted open. Locks broke clean off. That text hit him like a lead pipe. He replied in less than 2 minutes. Damn, man. Must have been some kids or something. You call the cops. Oh, Nate. You beautiful, stupid idiot. Now, technically, calling the cops was the easy way. But easy wasn't the plan. The plan was to ruin Nate properly, right in front of everybody who ever thought he was a good guy. So I texted him back. Nah. Thinking about it, though. Whole town's been getting hit lately. Figure whoever it was is dumb enough to brag. A little bait. A little pressure. And just like that, the trap tightened another notch. That night, I bumped into Emily and Nate at Mom's place for Sunday dinner. I made sure to tell the whole table loud enough for God and the angels to hear. Yeah, somebody broke into my truck. Busted the toolbox right open. Took something important, too. Nate about choked on his sweet tea. Mama clucked and fussed about those no-good punks running around, while Emily kept a skin if I needed help calling the sheriff. I smiled, real calm, and said, Nah, reckon I'll handle it myself. Meanwhile, Nate looked like he was trying to melt into the floorboards. Good. I wanted him scared. I wanted him thinking every creak of the porch was a badge knocking on his door. But I wasn't done yet. 2 nights later, I made my next move. Posted on Facebook, real casual. Heads up, folks, had a break-in Friday night. Got video footage. Gonna hand it over to the sheriff this week. Hope the guy enjoys his 15 minutes of fame. Added a winking emoji for flavor. Didn't tag anyone. Didn't name names. But in a town like Pine Bluff, rumors move faster than a church chicken on Sunday. By morning, half the town was buzzing. And Nate? Oh, Nate was sweating. So bad you coulda wrung him out like a mop. He texted me later that day. Hey bro, you sure it was a person? Maybe it was a raccoon or something? LOL. Desperation. You could smell it through the screen. I didn't reply, because the time for talking was about done. Next stop. Making sure Emily saw the real Nate with her own eyes. Now, you gotta understand, in a small town like ours, Facebook is the 6 o'clock news, the neighborhood watch, and the gossip hotline all rolled into one. After my little post about the break-in, I waited exactly 2 days. Didn't say another word. Didn't answer any nosy texts. Let folks get good and curious. And buddy, did they ever. By Tuesday afternoon, I had cousins, old high school buddies, even my old football coach blowing up my inbox of skin. You really got footage? You know who it was? You gonna press charges? I played it cool with everybody. Just said, might be, might not. We'll see. Meanwhile, Nate was unraveling faster than a cheap sweater in a bar fight. That night, I sprung the next part of the trap. I invited Emily and Nate over for dinner. Told I wanted to show some home project ideas I'd been working on. Nothing suspicious, just enough to get sitting at my kitchen table, bellies full, feeling comfortable. And once the dishes were cleared, once we were sitting around sipping coffee and scratching at old bug bites, I said it. You know, I figured it out. Who broke into my truck? Nate stiffened so hard you could hear his spine crack. Emily leaned forward, wide-eyed. Really? Who was it? I reached under the table, pulled out my laptop, and popped it open. Real casual. Here, I'll show ya. Pulled up the video. Hit play. And there, big as life and twice as ugly, was Nate creep-crawling across my yard, opening the toolbox, pulling out the lockbox, and skipping off into the night like a cat with a stolen pork chop. The room went dead silent. Emily stared at the screen like she couldn't believe her own eyes. Nate turned about 6 shades of gray, then tried to laugh it off. Man, that's not what it looks like, he stammered. I closed the laptop with a soft click. Nate, I said real quiet, I know what it looks like. And so does everyone else in town now. He blinked at me, confused, panicking. I leaned in just a little and said, You think you're the only one I showed this to? See, I'd spend all afternoon dropping that video off with a few select folks. Sheriff Harlan, who owed me a favor for helping him rebuild his deck last spring. Miss Patty at the diner, who talks faster than a Twitter feed. And Mr. Bailey at the feed store, who couldn't keep a secret if you sewed his mouth shut. By sunrise tomorrow, everybody from the river to the ridge would know exactly what Nate had done. Not because I screamed it from the rooftops. Because the whole damn town would whisper it loud enough to shake the windows. Emily's hands started shaking. You stole from Jason? She whispered, voice cracking. Nate opened his mouth, probably to spit out some half-cooked lie, but I raised my hand and cut him off. You didn't just steal from me, I said, my voice real even. You stole from the man who's been watching your sorry self since the day you waltzed into this family. I stood up slow, pushed my chair back. I gave you a chance to be better. Hell, I invited you to be better. Then I pointed toward the door. Now you can take your sorry behind and get out of my house. And Emily, I said, softer, looking at my sister, my foolish, well-meaning sister. You decide what you want to do with him. But either way, you ain't bringing a thief back to Mama's table. Nate stumbled out the door like he was trying to outrun a tornado. Emily sat there for a long time after he left. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just sat there. Finally, she looked at me and said the quietest thing I ever heard. I'm sorry. I didn't say nothing. Just poured her a cup of coffee, slid it across the table, and sat back down. Because some lessons don't need words. Some lessons are written in the quiet. By sunrise the next day, Nate's name was floating through Pine Bluff like smoke from a tire fire. Wasn't just the video, though, that sure lit the match. It was the whispers at the gas station, the looks at the diner, the way folks crossed the street to avoid shaking his hand at the farmer's market. By noon, even old man Brody, who still thinks the internet's a CIA plot, knew that Nate Parker was a thief. And buddy, once small-town shame gets a hold of you, it sticks worse than gum on a church pew. First real fallout hit that afternoon. Nate worked part-time at Duffy's Auto, mostly changing oil and sweeping floors. Nothing special, but it was a paycheck. Well, turns out Duffy don't much like thieves under his roof. Word is, he didn't even let Nate finish his shift. Just walked out to the shop floor, slapped the time card out of Nate's hand, and said, "Don't bother coming back." No drama. No fuss. Just the door swinging shut behind him. Next, the apartment. Now, Nate and Emily had just signed a lease on this dinky little two-bedroom over by Mill Creek. Nothing fancy, but Emily loved it. Called it their starter home. Problem was, the landlord also went to church with my mama. Saw the video. Heard the story. By Friday, they had a nice polite notice taped to the door. Due to violation of lease morality clause, tenant is hereby requested to vacate within 30 days. Turns out, you steal from family in Pine Bluff, you ain't just stealing money. You're stealing your future. And me? I didn't lift a finger. Didn't post another thing. Didn't say a word to nobody. I let the natural order of things do its work. It's like my grandpa used to say, "Boy, when a man digs his own grave, best thing you can do is hand him a shovel." Now, about Emily. She moved back in with Mama after all that, for a little while, anyway. Wouldn't even say Nate's name. She was embarrassed, heartbroken, and mad at herself in equal measure. And you know what? I didn't rub her nose in it. Didn't throw an "I told you so" party or crow about being right. Because the real goal was never to hurt Emily. It was to make sure she saw Nate for what he really was, plain and clear, no excuses, no rose-colored glasses. And thanks to Nate's own greed, he did all the heavy lifting for me. Now, if you're wondering whether Nate tried to crawl back, oh, he sure did. Couple days later, I got a long, whiny text. "Bro, I don't know why you had to ruin my life over a few $100. You could have just asked for it back." I read it, laughed out loud, and deleted it. Because that's the thing about men like Nate. They never understand that it wasn't about the money. It was about the trust. And once you break that, no amount of money in the world can glue it back together. Now, some folks might have stopped there. Job's done, right? Nate lost his work, his home, his name good for nothing, but punchlines at the barber shop. Ain't much lower you can fall in a town like Pine Bluff without digging a hole. But me? I believe in good, thorough work. See, a man like Nate, you don't just knock him down. You make sure he can't get up and pull the same stunt 2 counties over. And lucky for me, Pine Bluff ain't just small, it's connected. First thing I did was have a little talk with my cousin Billy. Billy runs a hardware store in the next town over, Dry Creek, maybe 20 minutes down the highway. Billy's one of those guys who knows everybody, hires local, and listens real close when somebody vouches or warns about a man. I swung by on Saturday afternoon, helped him load some lumber, bought him a burger at Judy's Grill, and laid it out plain. If a fella named Nate Parker ever comes looking for work, you might want to check your wallet before you shake his hand. Billy just nodded and said, "Say no more." Good old Billy. Next move. The local supply yards. See, construction work around here runs on word of mouth. No fancy resumes. No HR interviews. You need a guy? You ask around. If a name's bad, it travels fast, faster than whiskey at a fish fry. So I made a couple calls. Didn't lie, didn't exaggerate. Just said, "Look, I caught a man stealing right off my property. Got it on video. Wouldn't trust him holding my lunch, much less a payroll check." By Sunday, every foreman from Pine Bluff to Dry Creek knew exactly who Nate Parker was. And just to ice the cake, I dropped off a little anonymous letter at the sheriff's office. Didn't press charges, didn't need to. Just a nice, polite summary. Incident involving Nathaniel Parker. Caught on camera stealing property valued over $500. Video evidence available upon request. No accusations. Just facts. Enough to put a little flag next to his name in their system. Next time Nate so much as spit on the sidewalk, he wasn't getting a warning. He was getting a ride in the backseat with shiny new bracelets. I wasn't angry anymore. Not bitter. Not gloating. Just peaceful. Like when you finally fix a fence that's been sagging for years, standing tall again, keeping the varmints out. That's what real revenge is supposed to feel like. Not rage. Not chaos. Closure. It wasn't even a week later when Nate made his last, sad little move. Came knocking on Mama's door, hat in hand, looking like a stray dog caught in a thunderstorm. Emily wasn't there. She'd gone to stay with a friend for a few days, clear her head. Probably a good thing. Because if she'd seen the pitiful sight on Mama's porch, she might have punched him right in the jaw herself. I was over there fixing a leaky faucet when the knock came. Mama peeked through the curtain, sighed real deep, and said, "It's that boy." I wiped my hands on a rag and went to the door. And there stood Nate, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, shirt hanging off him like he hadn't slept or changed in days. "Jason," he started, voice cracking like old firewood. "I just want to talk, man." I stepped outside, shut the door behind me, and crossed my arms. "Talk," I said, keeping my voice steady. He shuffled his boots, looking anywhere but at me. "I know I messed up," he said. "I was drunk. Stupid. Emily's all I got, man. I need her back." He actually had the nerve to get misty-eyed, like he was auditioning for a daytime soap. "I'll pay you back," he whined. "I swear. I got some cash coming in. A buddy's got a job lined up for me in Nashville. Please, man. Just tell her I'm sorry. Tell her to give me another shot. Now, I ain't a cruel man, but I ain't no fool, neither." I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Nate, let me tell you something important." He sniffled, nodding, like a kid waiting for a life lesson. "You stole from family, lied to family, and when you got caught, you didn't apologize, you covered it up. You didn't come clean because you're sorry. You came because you ran out of places to hide." He opened his mouth, but I cut him off with a slow shake of my head. "You're not sorry you stole, Nate. You're sorry you got caught." I let that hang in the air like smoke. Then I stepped closer, close enough he had to look up at me. "And if you ever come near Emily again, if you so much as text her, call her, show up at her work, I promise you'll be dealing with the kind of trouble that don't end with a Facebook post." He swallowed hard. "Now," I finished, jerking my thumb toward the driveway, "you get your sorry tail off this porch before Mama has to wash it down." And he did. Didn't say another word. Didn't even look back. Just shuffled to his beat-up Ford, slammed the door, and tore out of the driveway like a kicked dog. Good riddance. After that, peace. Real, honest peace. No more Nate. No more worrying about Emily crying herself to sleep next to a liar. No more sneaking. No more grinning thieves at my family table. Just the slow, sweet return of normal. And let me tell you, there ain't a finer feeling in the world than getting your house clean after a storm.